Hello, everyone. My name is Allahanchi Mali or Changing Winds. Tonight's episode is me losing my religion and finding my true path. There was a time where I believed in God and heaven and salvation. I grew up with faith being the foundation of my life. It gave me comfort, especially in the time after my dad passing, but all over the years, I started questioning and searching and trying to find and make sense of all the contradictions. One day, I wasn't planning it, but I woke up and realized I don't believe it anymore. And I didn't expect what came next. Tonight, I want to share my journey and show you how I lost my religion, but I found something much more real. It isn't about proving or debating God. This is just my truth. Um, this episode is kind of deep for me. Uh, people are always trying to find comfort in something when they don't understand it. And that was with me. The faith gave me comfort. You know, growing up with the church and raised in the independent fundamental Baptist environment, the Bible was the ultimate guide. And I felt that way for the longest time. It wasn't just something to believe in, it was my foundation. It was everything that I held dear. Dad passing away, and in many ways gave me my peace I needed. It was holding on to him and believing one day I would see him again. I remember the revival when I gave my life to Jesus, feeling like I had a purpose, but even back then, there was cracks in my belief. Things that just didn't sit with me. I just wasn't really ready to admit it. We often gravitate towards things that we feel is important. And at the end of the day, we're still living with questions. And questioning isn't a bad thing, it really isn't. Sometimes questioning opens up more of a bigger understanding. Sometimes it brings more fear. Sometimes it brings comfort. Sometimes we just don't know from one minute to the next. And I'm not saying that my path was perfect. And it wasn't. There was cracks showing even then. Part of those cracks was the fear that I had, feeling hopeless and at a very young age thinking, I need something to grab onto. My dad was very important to me, and he still is. Along with the rest of my loved ones. My mom, my nanny, my Aunt Debbie, my Aunt Ann, my dad's side of the family, Uncle Johnny, Uncle Billy, Aunt Erlene, even my Aunt Pat. Uh, but those cracks grow wider the older you get. And some people will say, well, those cracks are for you to build a bridge to get over to the next side. I don't believe that. It's not as easy as that. Even if you're going to build a bridge, you have to build the foundation somewhere. You got to get down in the crack. And from me getting into those cracks and finding what's down there is what's brought me to where I am now. I've basically built a bridge, but I've had to get to into the root of building that bridge. I had to build the structure to hold that bridge. And doing that is getting down into the cracks to where what I really believe. And I witnessed the hypocrisy, the control, and the contradiction itself within the Bible, and it came to my identity. It came to me. Was it easy? No, it wasn't. And with every good thing, the hard parts is what makes you stronger. And part of my identity was, how could I call myself a Native American and believe in the God of the Bible and justify deconstruction of my ancestors? How could I do that? Of all the atrocities that happen, and it's not just Native Americans, it's happened throughout time. It's not just my Native American, it's not just it's not just your ancestors. I mean, this goes back with Christianity. Some of us got Irish. That happened. They came in and, they took what the Irish felt free. They were a pagan religion and the thing of it is, pagan just means outside the city, basically, but outside of the normal or the ordinary. You see, I had to justify the destruction and reconcile all the teachings of Christianity with who I was in my core. I had to figure that out. And figuring that out was difficult. It still is. I go my endocrinologist and my PCP and those two doctors they're Christians. And the rabbit got out of the bag that I was atheist. And my endocrinologist was like, why? What? Why? And I was like, I just don't believe in the God of the Bible. Well, why not? What's wrong with him? There's an awful lot wrong with him. And both my PCP and my endocrinologist are both they're African American women, and I wanted to bring that up, but I just left it there. There's no reason for me to give them that. I'm sorry, but I even if I was if I associated myself if I was an African American and I associated myself with Christianity, I wouldn't be able to do it because the religion of their ancestors was not anything close to Christian. You can see it in their churches if you take the white churches and the African American churches, they're night and day. They're nowhere near. The African American churches have so much more culture, and you know, to me they do. You step into a white evangelical church and missionary Baptist or Pentecostals are kind of, but you know the mainstream. You walk in, sing a couple of songs, and the preacher preaches, and the prayer offering plate. And then they have the more contemporary, usually a later service for, the younger crowd, or they have more upbeat music or whatever. And this moment clicked with me. It was a morning in 2019. And without any doubt or hesitation, I just said, I don't believe in God or the Bible anymore. And it wasn't a dramatic force, it was just the truth. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid of, and I wasn't empty, and I wasn't lost. In fact, I felt more free. I had my life. And I don't want to dismiss Jesus, completely. If he really truly practiced what he preached, then his teachings were solid and his principles were solid to live by. But the idea of him as the savior of the world, I could no longer believe that in myself. Because within that is so many other things that you have to stop believing, or me, or how do I put this? It's not right. To me, it's not. To others, well, you got to get rid of all. You got to get rid of all what the world thinks. But then something strange happened to me. The spiritual signs. I personally thought I had to walk away from faith. Something unexpected happened, and a series of weird moments and signs and that I couldn't ignore anymore. You know, I remember forgotten dreams that I had, and that I brought this up last time with the hydroplaning, and that was real. I mean, I could have died that day. But my nanny and these beings show up. And then the Native American that picked me up, and he addressed me the way my father addressed me, my mom addressed me, my grandma, my brother, my close family. Now, I don't know what little great one means. I really don't know. I really don't. I don't consider myself great at anything. And then, the fresh fire that I could not reconcile this. And this was difficult for me. Is how do I keep what's made me me? It's difficult because I'm not trying to prove God or prove anything. And there's going to be people say, well, you definitely had, God watching over you. And yeah, but it wasn't God that showed me the path that I'm on now. It was my nanny. It was this Native American dude, okay? And as time goes on, you're like, I didn't see I was watching something on near death experiences and stuff the other day. And I'll throw this out there. My ex, my son's mom, their cousin. Let's see, I'm 40. He's probably getting to be close to 50 now. And he thought he had the flu. And he's been working at Lowe's for years. But he was young then. And he thought he was just sick with the flu. Went to the hospital, shows up, EKG show up, heart attack, multiple. He was having widowmakers, a lot of them. And it was from drinking those energy drinks. And I asked him when he came out of it all, I asked him, I was like, Do you have any kind of near-death experiences or anything? Tell me no. And then here recently, uh, he's been going to church. I think he's starting to be a minister. But I asked him back then, but now he's telling me, you know, he's had, and I don't dispute that. He thinks that he's, left here for a purpose. He is. We all are. We're here for a purpose. We never know what it is. But when I stepped away from Christianity and my visions came back, the same native entity came back to me and told me it's time. And he called me Alahanchi Male. I had to look it up. I didn't know what it meant. And I was looking through different things and I was like, I have the Chickasaw dictionary, and my cousin, Nashoba, he's like, I don't know what those words mean. You'll have to look them up yourself. So, I looked them up. And looking them up, the rough translation was changing. So actually, the translation is changing in the breeze or within the breeze, or it's, but when I was like changing wind, like when I was like changing winds, that's what it means to me. And that's what my name means. That's what it means. And it fits me. And it told me, the being told me it's time for me to walk my path that I was meant to walk. You see my things, and you see it. There's a deer and a peacock. It's in my logos. It's right here on my arm. I drew this out, and this is my first and only tattoo that I have. But my totem animals, I was walking down the street and I had been, thinking on this, and they just show up out of nowhere. And deer don't run a lot during the summer. This is during the summer. And deer do not run a lot during the summer. And for two to show up and me telepathically tell them, hey, it's not safe to go back. And they just turned around and walked right. They wasn't scared or anything. I hadn't lost my faith. I just found the truth within me. And I wasn't meant to follow the God of the Bible. And I wasn't meant. I was meant to follow my ancestors. And I say this because this life, they're gone. Mom, my nanny, my aunt, my Aunt Debbie, the foundation of my family is gone. I'm that. My brother is. My pops. We're the foundation now. mom passing away and me walking that path, but and then coming back the same one, and there being a black feather there. And then the same thing happens the day that I get the calls. Those feathers were closures. They were closures of those chapters in my life. And I know people will say, "Oh, he's just blowing smoke up people's backside," and I'm not. And I'm not trying to prove one thing or the other. I'm not going to say you're going to have the same experience. Or I personally have always had a very spiritual and a deep side of me. I've always asked the hard question to myself. I always have, and I always will. Things happen that we have no clue on why they happen the way they do. And I'm not dissing you if you're a Christian. I'm not dissing you if you're Hindu, Buddhist, I that's all between you and your soul. You're who you are. I say soul, but who you are. And that's what matters. Just because I don't believe in the God of the Bible, I do believe there's something more, whether it's ancestral connection or an energy or something we just don't fully understand. This is what's moved me. This is what's led my life. And it's not about proving you. It's not about proving what I say. It's not about that. It's about what your story is. Have you, I just noticed my, uh-oh. But tell me your story. I want to hear it. I do. And, I'm not here to disprove you or whatever you know is your own truth. Let me hear it. I want to know about it. Cuz it's not, like I said, it's never about just me. We all have our own stories. We all have our own beliefs. We all have our own, and that's okay. That's okay. If you believe that the the Bible is what tells you, you do it. You do it. But don't force it on somebody else. You let somebody come to their own relate their own beliefs. I have never sat my kids down and made them read the Bible with me. Whenever they will eventually. My oldest son is at this point right now. that's where he's at. Like I've told his story with his burn. I don't know what was going through his mind then. I don't. And I'm pretty sure that what happened to him, he's looking for wine and how. But I will never ever tell my kids or anybody else for that matter. It's not my place. Hope y'all got something out of this today. And I'll see you next week, Tuesday, 7 p.m. Y'all have a good evening. And y'all take it easy for the rest of the week, okay? I love you guys.